Hi, welcome to another Roboflow training movie. In this movie we're going to focus on creating zip files, using two actions. Before starting, I have to say that this, what you're about to see in this workflow, is only available in version 9.1 version 38 or 9.2 version 38, and so you can always check if you have that functionality, if you have that version. Otherwise this workflow will not work. The first workflow I already prepared, and the second one we're gonna do together. So the first workflow is a hot folder template, so files being dropped in a folder and they are processed one by one. I set up the parameters here so that it looks in a folder called drop zip one file, and then I created an action script. What does the action script do? Let me make this a little bit bigger, so like that, so we have a little bit of room. First of all, I'm storing a target folder. I'm going to create the zip somewhere and copy this file somewhere, so I need a target folder. So I created a target folder which is dynamic. So here I have a subfolder I create and then a dynamic part, so every file will go to a separate folder with a date timestamp. Then the next thing is that I'm storing this path as text so that I can use it in my workflow, and then I'm storing the parent folder path because I want to be able to put my zip someplace, and I'm gonna put it in the root of that folder, not inside the subfolders with the date time, but in the root of that target folder, which is actually here is my drop folder, and here is my target folder. So here is where I'm going to put the zips, and then I have some files prepared, but I prepared them in the wrong place. They have to go here. So let me put them over here. So I dropped two files in and we will process them in a minute. So this is the target folder where I'm going to create the zip, and I have to remove this. And here I will also create the subfolders in which I am copying the folders. For this one zip, creating one zip for one file, you don't need to copy them anywhere, but you will see in the next example why I did this. So I've created a target folder where I want to copy my file to. Inside a dynamic subfolder, I stored that path as text, so I can use it here in my workflow. I stored the parent folder as text, and now I'm copying the hot file. So the current file is always called the hot file, this object. So I'm copying it to the target folder. Second, so after copying it, I'm storing the path of that file, and then I start creating my zips. I have prepared several examples. The first one is create zip from folder. Create zip from folder is a functionality that already exists since the version 9.1, so this you will definitely have. And this just I'm just telling him, here's the target folder that I created at the start. Create a zip that is called zip from folder with a date timestamp and a .zip, and I call it one folder zip. This one exists. If you create such a zip, it will look inside that folder. It will put that folder inside the zip, and anything that is in there it will add as well. So subfolders, etc., etc. Then I have a new functionality in this version, which is create zip from paths. And zip from paths allows you to specify a number of paths to files or folders separated by a semicolon. and then it will create a zip. And here I call that zip1 file because I'm having the hot file path here, so the path of the current file. I stored that and it's putting that into the zip. Call it one zip file. And then the second example is that I take the target folder path, so that same folder where the file resides in, and I'm creating the zip. You will see the difference. It will add the name of the folder inside the zip, and then it will add underneath the file, while the previous version will just create a zip with that file in it. Third example is that you can specify that file path with /star. Then it will take anything inside, folders, subfolders, files, inside that folder and put it in the zip. But the top level will not be there. So this target folder path will not be inside the zip. Everything inside the zip will be, inside the folder will be inside the zip. And I called it zip from inside. So by adding /star, this is what it's doing. So we created four zips. As I said, a folder with anything in it, a file, a folder path, which will actually do the same thing as this one, but here we could have added several folder paths separated by semicolons. And then inside folder is the last one where we added a /star. What I do then is I delete everything in that target folder and I delete the target folder. So let's see how this works. I just, as I said, I dropped here in this folder, I dropped 2 files, and now I'm going to run the workflow. It's processing them one by one, of course. And if I have a look, it has processed the 2 files. As a result, they are, of course, no longer here. And then in the target folder, it has created several files, several zip files, for 4 of them for each file. So what do I have? Zip from folder, and that one was the first one. It just creates and adds whatever is inside that zip, and it adds the top level. Then from folder path, in this case, will be exactly the same, but remember, it could be several folder paths separated by semicolon, and then they would be all in here. And then zip from inside means inside. At this point there was only one file inside, but if there is multiple folders or files, it will put them in one zip. And then the final one is here, one file just is the one file that you've created. So now let's have a look at what happens if we do that for multiple files. So what I'm going to do is actually modifying the existing workflow. So I'm going to export this workflow, save, okay, and then I'm going to import this workflow again. And where do I have to look? This is, where is it? Downloads. And then modified. This is what I created. Open. Click here to import. Never forget, don't click here, okay, because it will not import. Always click here. It's imported. So then the file name, it adds this ugly unique stamp because it cannot create 2 workflows with the same name. We're just going to modify that, of course, and I'm going to say multiple zip multiple files, sorry, multiple files. Good. The drop folder, I'm going to create a new one, and I'm going to parent folder, and here in the parent folder. Okay, so oh, a little bit too far. Not good. So parent folder of this, and here I want to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this drop multifile zip. Okay, select. Okay, and that's my drop folder. And then when I go into the workflow, I'm going to create a target folder, and this target folder I'm going to call like this. Good. So what are we now going to do is actually we are going to create a zip or multiple zips for this one instance. So that means that I'm going to add some logic, and one of the logic things I'm going to add here is information for the target zip and the target folder. So I'm only going to do that on the first item. So I'm going to say conditional test workflow progress. Okay, and I'm going to say the first item of the loop, test if first item of loop, like that. Good. And I'm going to put some stuff inside. Good. Paste. I have to put this part of subfolder path I need inside. Paste. The path of the zip folder where I'm going to put it is also going in here. Then copying the file is going to happen for every file. And now I have here the hot folder path I'm going to store. Now what I'm going to have to do is here add another test, because now I'm going to create a path or multiple paths to add to the zip. So in this case I will create here a variable, and I'm going to say here that after the file is copied I'm storing the path. Good, no problem. But I'm going to do new, and I'm going to test here conditional and even, yeah, need to do it that way. So conditional test workflow progress. Okay. And then here I'm going to say if it's the first loop, I'm saying test if first file. You should not give your output variable the same name as the other one, otherwise it might get confused. So I'm saying test if first file, and if first file I'm going to do a store text new. Remember, I'm going to construct a text with all the paths in there. So what I'm doing is here just doing a store text. Okay. And what is the text that I want to store? Well, that is the hot file path. So hot file path, that's what I want to store. So I'm going to call this paths. Paths. Good. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy this, and in case that it's not the first item of the loop, I'm adding the path that you just saw to the existing one. So how do I do that? I say new, and I go for conditional progress, and test else if not first file. So test if first file, like that. Okay, we're opening it, and I say paste. I'm storing the text in here, but what I need is actually I need to add the original value. So the original value was a tag called paths, so this one. So what I'm going to do is take the original and put a semicolon. So whatever files were there plus this file is going to into paths. Now what I'm going to do is, now we're going to create the zip, but we're only going to create the zip. So all this, we're only going to do that after the last file. So I'm going to say new conditional test workflow progress. Okay. And I'm going to test if this was the last item. Test if last file or item of loop. Like that. Control C, Control V. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to put all this. Good. And we're going to put this inside here. Paste. Just for safety precautions, when I do copy and pasting, I don't want to be doing it over and over again, or making a mistake by accident and then having to restart everything. So from time to time I just make sure that I save my script and not wait till the end. Here, create from folder, that stays the same. Create zip from path, one file. This is no longer one file, of course, but this will now be the variable paths. And so if you don't want to type it, you can just do hash, wait a second, hash, and you will have the drop down appear here at the bottom, and then you have paths. And this is of course now called multifile. So multifile zip. The rest will stay the same because this is the create zip from a path, from a folder path. This is from inside the folder, and this is delete folder will delete that same target folder that was created here at the start. So the difference is that all the files in this loop will be put together into one zip, either a zip with a folder or just the files itself. So let's have a look. Let's find some files to process. So I'm taking these 3 files and I'm going to put them in my drop folder. So let's have a look. This is drop multifile. I'm doing this, and now I can run it. So start. I know that when I have a look, it will not have worked. Why will it not have worked? I will show you in the log in a moment. So what happens is that actually here we only find one file. So it was only able to copy one file, and on top of that it was not able to delete this folder that it created afterwards. So let's find out why. It's very simple, but you have to think about it. Let me first here delete this. So what we forgot is that in an action script, every variable that I create only exists inside this one action script for this one file. So I create here for the first file some objects, a target folder, etc., etc. The second file, it won't go in here, and then it will try to copy to the folder called target folder. But that object was created for the first item and no longer exists. There is a solution for that. We're doing that for opening and closing catalogs as well. Is that you can prefix here your folder paths, your variables with the word global, and then it will create it for this complete run, which means that you can now reuse it. So let me just pick up this part. And so that means if I'm storing this, I need to prefix everything that I put into this first environment, and so I can do that. And you don't have to mention it here, but it's safer to use the right path. For this one you don't need to do it because it only needs to exist here at this one moment where it will store it. It will either store it in this way or in that way. Again, here that storing needs to happen like this because you need this variable to exist throughout the whole loop and not just for this one item. So that's why it was not giving the right result. Finally here in the end, create, and so target folder, it's this one, and here it will work without, but you can put this in here. It finds it, but you have to store it up front. So here's same for paths, like that. So that is important to use or to know. If you play with the test if first item of loop and test if last item of loop, it will require you to make sure that if an object is created inside such an if test, if it needs to exist in the next loop, that you have to add this global prefix in front of it. So now you see we've modified it, and we can try to do our run again. Start. And if we have a look now in our target folder, we have 4 zip files. The first one is zip from folder, which will be no different than before, except for the fact that it now has all 3 files in it and not just one file, and because it waited to create that zip until all files were copied there. Same for specifying the zip folder path. You have the subfolder in there. Then the third one, went a little bit too far back. The third one inside, now you will notice the difference that it doesn't have that top level folder because we did /star, so anything inside that folder. And the third one will be in this case similar, just having the file paths because we specified that variable paths where we with semicolons defined what we had to do in there. So we could combine 7 files being anywhere and put them in a zip. You don't even have to copy them to a central folder for this zip functionality. So this was an example of how to use zips. There is also an unzip action, which just looks at for a file that you give it, and that will unzip the contents to a target folder. Thank you for joining me, and remember, this example was built with Roboflow version 9.1.38 or 9.2.38. Thank you. Bye.